Tensions are rising fast in West Asia. With each passing day, the threat of another war is becoming more real. The United States is sharply increasing pressure on Iran, building up a massive military presence across the region. At the same time, US President Donald Trump is pursuing negotiations for a new nuclear agreement with Iran. In essence, he is leveraging America's military strength to gain the upper hand at the negotiating table. Just yesterday evening, Trump announced a new deadline for Tehran. Iran now has 10 days to reach a deal. If it fails to do so, Trump warned that bad things will happen. He made it clear. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. According to him, peace in the Middle East is impossible if Iran possesses such a capability. He stressed that a meaningful agreement must be reached, otherwise serious consequences will follow. This marks a tightening of the timeline. Earlier, Trump had given Iran 2 weeks. Now that window has been reduced to just 10 days. But with Donald Trump, deadlines are often unpredictable. Last year, he announced he would take 2 weeks to decide whether to strike Iran's nuclear facility at Fordo. Instead, he ordered the strike within days, and that was with far fewer US forces deployed around Iran. This time, the United States is far more prepared for escalation. By most indications, military action is very much on the table. This week, Trump convened key members of his inner circle, including Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and his son-in-law Jared Kushner. He was briefed on 2 critical issues: the status of negotiations with Iran and the available military options in West Asia should talks collapse. So far, 2 rounds of negotiations have produced no breakthrough. Meanwhile, the US military footprint in the region has expanded dramatically. The buildup includes 2 major aircraft carriers, the USS Abraham Lincoln and the USS Gerald R. Ford, along with 6 missile destroyers, 14 additional Navy warships, dozens of fighter jets, more than 85 aerial refueling tankers, over 170 cargo aircraft, and 6 early warning and control planes. Taken together, this force represents overwhelming firepower. The USS Abraham Lincoln alone is capable of launching more than 125 bombing missions in a single day. With the USS Gerald R. Ford added to the equation, the United States could carry out several hundred airstrikes over weeks, sustaining a prolonged aerial campaign if necessary. This level of deployment provides Washington with multiple strategic options. One possible course is targeted strikes against Iran's leadership, including Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei and his inner circle. Another option would be renewed attacks on Iranian nuclear facilities or a broader air campaign targeting military and government infrastructure across the country. At this stage, the US appears capable of executing any of these plans. Tehran understands the gravity of the situation. In response, Iran has activated its diplomatic channels at the United Nations. Iran's ambassador has sent a formal letter to UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres and all members of the Security Council, warning of severe consequences if the United States launches an attack. The message is direct. If Trump strikes Iran, Tehran will retaliate in kind. The letter states that all US bases, facilities, and assets in the region would become legitimate targets as part of Iran's defensive response. It also warns that the United States would bear full responsibility for any unpredictable and uncontrollable consequences. In simple terms, Iran is signaling that any US action would trigger attacks on American bases throughout West Asia, potentially pulling regional allies into a broader conflict. Iran may be hoping that this threat unsettles Arab states enough to pressure Washington to de-escalate. Still, Tehran's best outcome would be a diplomatic breakthrough. Yet that remains difficult, as both sides are holding firm on their red lines. The United States insists that Iran must not obtain a nuclear weapon and should completely halt uranium enrichment. Iran has indicated some openness to compromise, but demands that US sanctions be lifted first. Washington also wants Iran to end its missile program, a demand Tehran considers non-negotiable, viewing its missile arsenal as a cornerstone of national defense. There are reports of limited common ground in economic areas, including oil, gas, mining, and Iran's ability to purchase aircraft. However, details remain unclear. The White House has stated that while some minor progress may have been made, significant gaps persist. Iran is expected to return with further proposals in the coming days, and President Trump is closely monitoring developments. Israel is also watching events unfold. This week, the Israeli military elevated its level of readiness. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu warned that Israel is coordinating closely with the United States and is prepared for any scenario. He cautioned that if Iran makes the mistake of attacking Israel, it would face a response beyond imagination. The rising tensions are already shaking global markets. Oil prices have climbed to their highest level in nearly 7 months. Brent crude, the global benchmark, has surged close to 2% and is trading around $72 per barrel. Gold prices have also spiked sharply, crossing $5,000 per ounce, a clear sign of investor anxiety. What began as domestic protests in Iran over inflation has now evolved into a dangerous standoff with the United States, one that risks escalating into a full-scale regional war. This is a rapidly developing story, and we are tracking every major update for you. The streets once echoed her name. Supporters filled rooftops. It felt as though history was ready to repeat itself. Then, in an instant, everything changed. A flash, a burst, panic replacing celebration. Benazir Bhutto was gone, not defeated at the ballot box, but silenced by assassination. Catch the full story on that historic assassination only here on Veridox News. Thanks for watching Veridox News. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more in-depth analysis and updates.